Now, at 7:36, we're joined now by Head of Policy for Reform UK, Zia Yusuf, this morning. Very good morning to you, Zia.
Good morning.
And you must be delighted this morning. The Prime Minister has abandoned his plans to cancel this year's local elections.
Yeah, we're delighted. It's a historic day for the country. Huge credit to Nigel Farage, to Reform, to our lawyers, and to everyone in the country, actually, who campaigned and lobbied against this appalling attempt to subvert and deny democracy for millions of people. Again, by the way, emphasis on again, because for millions of people, actually, who were about to have elections cancelled on them again in May, this had already happened to them just last year. And one of the most remarkable things, I would say, is that this letter from the government, I've never really seen anything like it, came, of course, on the day that they were supposed to. The government had been given a deadline by the judge of submitting its evidence. That deadline expired yesterday. The court hearing for Reform's judicial review was supposed to begin in 2 days' time. So that is why they've done this. And the letter itself also said it was in light of, quote, new legal advice. I'll tell you what that legal advice would have inevitably told the Prime Minister that they were going to lose. So it's a great day for Reform, for the country, for the millions who will now get their right to vote in May.
It's a bad day, though, Zia, for unemployment. I'm looking at the figures that they are today, and since Labour came to power, they're up 1.5%. This is a socialist government. No matter what you stand for or whatever, these guys are supposed to be there on behalf of workers, and what they're doing is just losing workers. People are losing jobs, and I'm scratching my head as to why this should be.
Because they're a bunch of student politicians who have no idea how the real world works, have never set up and run large businesses, never hired and had to make payroll at all, really. There's not a single member of the Labour cabinet who's had to do that on any significant scale. Everything you just described, Eamon, was entirely predictable. We were saying this is what would happen. Look, it's basic economics. If you make hiring people more expensive, then you're going to get less hiring. And that's, for example, exactly what we saw with the 2% increase in employers' national insurance contributions.
That's obvious to a blind man on a galloping horse. So why can these people not see this?
Because they have no life experience, Eamon. And I'm going to keep emphasising the point. If you put a bunch of people, in this country now, frankly, for years, we haven't just had a lack of a meritocracy, we've had an idiocracy. We've had the least qualified people in the country making the most important decisions that impact the most people's lives. And that, whether it was Matt Hancock as our health secretary during the greatest health emergency since World War II, whether it's Ed Miliband now running the grid, God forbid, these are catastrophic decisions that are being made. And by the way, it wasn't just raising the cost of employing people, it was also making it that much more risky through the Employment Rights Bill, what we call it, the Unemployment Rights Bill. Of course, employees should have rights, but you give them all of those rights the second they walk through the door as an employer, especially if you're a small and medium-sized business and you can't afford large legal bills. I'll tell you what you do, because we hear this from them all the time. They just don't hire people. And that's why we're seeing this total stagnation. And I'll tell you, the people I'm most worried about with regards to all of this are young people. We're seeing youth unemployment now is higher in the UK than it is in the EU for the first time ever. That, once again, Britain is plumbing new depths to our shame. And with the advent of AI, by the way, many companies are now deciding to at least hold back on hiring new juniors. And all we're hearing from the government is that they think, by the way, this is the worst part of all of it. If you listen to ministers, they still talk about going further and faster. Their diagnosis is that the British people want them to do more of the appalling things that they've done. So what Reform have said we've got to do is start reversing all of these things. We've talked about it with our pubs policy already, and for hospitality, that's just one area where we talked about reversing this 2% national insurance increase, dramatically reducing, in fact, halving VAT for that industry. We've got to look at energy costs. In the end, there are no well-paid fulfilling jobs for people without a prospering business, and we're going to stand up for that.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GBNews viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
What do you say to people then that are critical that reform has the life experience but doesn't have the political experience to run number 10? They're concerned that you have a lack of cabinet experience and knowing what goes on around that table.
Well, I think if we speak again in a few hours' time, I mean, Nigel's going to be making an announcement imminently about his first shadow cabinet appointments, and you will see there will be some people in there with significant experience. But look, we maintain the point that while we do want some experience, yes, it is useful to have some people who can help us see around corners, help us. You know, we're going to have an almighty battle on our hands, not of our own choice, but, you know, with the blob. Basically, our assumption is every non-democratic institution will be actively resistant to us. You've talked on your program recently about what the Home Office are already briefing, by the way. The ministry are literally charged with securing and defending our borders are saying that many of them would walk out, to use their quote, according to reliable media reports, if a party came to power on the mandate of securing and defending our borders. I mean, you couldn't make it up. So it's useful to have some people like that, but, you know, the majority of our candidates in Parliament, in fact, probably the vast majority, and the majority of Nigel's cabinet will be people who have achieved outstanding things in the real world, whether that's health, whether that's transport, you know, whether that's in the justice system.
Zia,
I think that's what the country needs now.
Yeah, get the message. We're out of time, unfortunately. Sorry to have to cut you off there, but good talking to you, and thanks for speaking to us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have got David Wooding, former Sunday Express editor and former Conservative MP, Anna Firth today on this one. Guys, we've got to ask you, and I suppose, you know, you both have experience on this, but local government elections and this U-turn, Anna.
I cannot believe this. I mean, another day, another Starmer U-turn. We're used to that now, aren't we? But this, for the man who prided himself on being Mr. Rules, who's built his whole career on knowing the law, and he doesn't know the law. I mean, for me, this is the U-turn. This is the mother of all U-turns. But I was a portfolio holder for elections on a local council for many years, and that's one of the things that really bugs me about this is we're hearing that £63 million of our money is going to be given to these 30 councils.
Where's that coming from?
Where's it coming from, Ellie? But also, local authorities need to be ready to put on a general election. You know, you used to only have a few weeks to put on a general election, so they are always ready for elections. They should have been preparing for these local elections because there was a legal challenge. So there's no reason whatsoever why they should get £63 million.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is, so what Starmer has effectively done here is illegally cancel democracy.
David, what do you think? What's your take?
Well, the embarrassing thing for Keir Starmer on this one is that barely a few hours before he made this U-turn, I think it's the 14th, 15th or 16th U-turn in 19 months, depending on how you count them.
Yeah.
Before he made this U-turn, he was asked at a press conference whether he was going to what he was going to do in the wake of the Mandelson affair. He said, "We're not going to do any more U-turns." He effectively said, "You know, I'm going to fight. We're going to move on. We're going to make this. We're going to have a direction." And then within a couple of hours, he's turning around on this. He's also going to have to pay Nigel Farage's party Reform £100,000 legal costs. This is a man who prides himself on on being a lawyer and director of public prosecutions, and people are starting to ask now, not only is he a poor Prime Minister, was he that good a lawyer as he likes to make out?
Well, the case would have been so empty, that's why they've backed down on this one. There was just nothing to defend.
Well, their defence was that it was about this reorganisation of local authorities.
Yes.
And that if you would elect somebody this year, for example, at a huge cost to the taxpayer, their defence would be, well, in a year's time with the reorganisation, that person would no longer
but it raises,
have their role.
But it raises other questions as well, because remember at the outset, the government said that they'd taken legal advice and that they were cancelling these elections on the basis of legal advice. So hang on a minute, did they not take legal advice and that was a porky pie?
Yeah.
Or was the government's own legal advice faulty? Because clearly there's been a change of mind now. So I think this raises really serious questions, and a head has got to roll here.
And David, quick one just before we hit the break. Do people care? Because when we look at turnout, it's in the mid-20s or so for local government elections. They'll certainly care this year, I would think.
Absolutely. I heard a woman on the TV last night saying, I don't read any of this, I'm not interested. That's obviously the case with a lot of people, but take away their right to have a vote and to have a say, and they're cross about it.
Anna, just very quickly, you say heads will roll, or should roll. Do you think Steve Reid needs to go?
Somebody has got to take responsibility for for trying to do something that's illegal, that's going to cost us all another £63 million. In the private sector, come on, the CEO should go in a small company. Now, in this company, definitely Steve Reid. But frankly, this is the final nail in Keir Starmer's already very naily coffin.
Thank you for the minute.